everyone, welcome back to AskAVC. My name is Ryan Floyd, I'm a partner at Storm Ventures. In today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. The team at European VC, Andreas and Dave, did a podcast with me talking about a variety of different topics, go-to-market, how to break into VC, and I thought it would be great to share that with you all, especially given that Storm's doing so much in Europe. Please leave me a comment, hit the subscribe button, let me know what you'd like to hear from more in the future, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
So Ryan, let's talk a bit of go-to-market. Your partner, and this is actually true. I think I've heard Andreas talk about this book, I don't know, 2,000 times already. But your partner has written some awesome content on GTM, go-to-market, survival to thrival. Would you maybe kind of, for our listeners that don't know the book or haven't heard about it yet, just kind of give us a quick rundown of what that is, so we can then kind of deep dive a bit on it?
Yeah, so look, at a really high level, companies in the enterprise follow a lot of patterns that may not be obvious at the beginning in terms of how you really approach developing a product and then really thinking about that go-to-market motion in terms of what works. And I think trying to really just break down the elements of what will work in a go-to-market environment for your product is really what it's all about. That it's not this black box mystery, that if you follow some steps, you can really begin to unravel that mystery. And once you can unlock that go-to-market strategy that's working, you really can invest and accelerate. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling to security, or you're selling to HR, or you're selling CRM. If you're selling to an enterprise buyer, they're very similar journeys. And I often tell people it has a lot more to do with the price point that you're selling at, rather than who you're selling to or what it is that you're selling. Are you selling a $5,000 or a $10,000 a year subscription where you really need to have a product-led strategy, because the cost of sales driving a product at that size can be challenging, versus maybe a product that's $300,000-$400,000 ACVs, where almost by definition it's going to be more of a consultative sale. And so just kind of walking through all that, and that's really what it's all about. It's all based on, he wrote it with Bob Tinker, who was CEO and founder of something called Mobile Iron, and they really put together that whole journey so that others could take from it and hopefully build successful businesses as well.
And I know Andreas is dying to kind of ask specific questions about the way you guys look at it and your model. So I'm good, Andreas, take over.
Ryan, what I see in the go-to-market space is that not a lot of people talk about it, but not a lot of people have actually put it on a formula the way that Tahinam and Bob Tinker has, and that is my warmest recommendation to everyone in the space, going in, reading it, and working with the model and trying to apply it themselves, because I've really seen it apply so well to both established SMEs and also startups. So in that sense, I think it's very, very powerful in the sense that anyone can just get working with it. And Ryan, would you maybe elaborate on the thinking around the different elements of it and draw the contours of it?
Well, we just talked about it a little bit, but the way to think about it is really it's a framework. There's no prescriptive follow steps 1, 2, and 3. There's no recipe for success, but it's a framework to really kind of think through how to kind of build on what's working over time, and as you do that, you'll eventually end up in a successful spot. I'll just give you one example. Early on when you're let's say you got a little bit of revenue, a founder's inclination might be, it's time for me to hire a VP of sales, right? I need to go hire a VP of sales and scale up my sales. But it's really been founder-led sales up until that point. The founder's been the one who's been, closing all the customers and has been working closely on that. The problem with hiring a VP of sales at that point in time is that most often a great VP of sales, what they're really good at are really two things. They're really good at hiring awesome salespeople, and they're really good at implementing and managing a process around sales to get the best out of that sales organization. What they probably are not going to be as good at, or they haven't spent maybe time recently in their career, maybe years ago, was really helping to find that path forward into the customer as a salesperson. Because what you find is a founder-led sales effort, founders can close all sorts of things because, they're so passionate. They know so much about the product and the market. They have an ability to do things that it's just hard to expect a salesperson to do. So finding that initial salesperson that can really help you be a pathfinder forward in that sales environment and on that journey, that's kind of the first step. And so, I think what the book does and the whole framework is, in some ways helps you try to avoid making some of those mistakes, but really puts them into a context of why and how you ought to be thinking about this from a process standpoint. So it's just not mysterious. So that if someone says, hey, don't hire VP of sales, you really understand why that makes sense in the context of, a broader framework for go-to-market.
Yeah, and the whole, what I see often founders struggling with is, going from that stage that you described here, where it's founder-led sales operations, and then that also means that the guy running sales is also the person running everything else, and that makes it automatic that everything is coherent. But once you get that VP of sales in, that is where you quickly lose touch. So marketing starts fighting with sales and everything all throughout this supply chain. And I've just found that the framework is so good at bringing everyone together in seeing the company as a whole, and taking ownership over every part of the value chain of the company, even though you are only in sales, in quotation marks, of course.
No, I think that's exactly right. It evolves, and I think trying to have that kind of perspective about what worked here, isn't going to scale, but taking that next step, kind of what to sort of think about to sort of make that next step work appropriately, is the right way. And it is a step function. You can't go from 0 to 60 in a day at a company, and I think a lot of people think sometimes that money can solve that problem for you. But it's like baking a cake or something. You can't just put a cake in the oven at 1,000 degrees and expect it to work, right? It takes time to bake that, and I think you have to sometimes respect a little bit about the process it takes in making sure you have all the components right to enable you to be successful at that next stage. You can definitely, I think, increase the pace to the extent you have a lot of resources to invest against it. But sometimes, frankly, resources can, give you a lot of false signals sometimes too about what's working or not. Because it's amazing, you can brute force a lot of things in like a sales process, right? In terms of if you put an army of salespeople out there, you'll probably close some opportunities, but they may not be repeatable. They may not be the customers you ultimately want. And certainly from a cost of sales standpoint, it absolutely won't be scalable. So have you really done a lot to really move your business to the next level? Because yes, you've generated some revenue, but you haven't done it in any sort of scalable way. So in some ways, you've sort of incurred now this kind of a business debt that you're going to have to solve for later. And maybe you've got the resources to do it. But there's countless examples of companies that were unable to sort of figure that out and ultimately failed as a result.
Yeah.